let's talk a moment about a feature called triggers. Now you can find triggers here behind this little lightning symbol here on the left-hand menu, and it takes you to our triggers view. So what are triggers? They are simply a tool that allows you to monitor a list that you have created on Vainu and have it send you notifications whenever there is a relevant change occurring within those companies. You can create a new trigger by clicking here on Create a Trigger. You can obviously rename your trigger, but the first thing to really do is to select the list that you want to use. So for example, let's say I'm going to use this list here, which means that this trigger is now monitoring all of the companies that are within this list. Now the next thing to do is to choose the actual events that I want to follow, so basically the things that I want to get notified when they happen. The first one here is called New Company in New ICP Prospects, which is the name of the list, and this simply means that whenever there's a new company that fulfills the criteria that I have set up for this list, I would then be notified of those new companies. All the other events are here categorized under different subcategories. So for example, I might be interested whenever there's a change in personnel, a change of CEO maybe within those companies. Maybe I'm interested about investments that they have made. So whenever we have detected, for example, a news item telling that they have invested in a new place of business, I could get notified from those. There is even the catch-all option named Any Event, which means that I would get notified when any of these different events listed here would occur. Obviously not something you want to use if you have a huge list with a lot of companies, because then you would get a lot of notifications, but maybe worth having for a smaller list where you just want to know about all of the events that we catch for those specific companies. So let's say for the sake of this example that I'm interested in any open positions within those companies. Now, one thing that I can also do is I can add keywords to narrow down even more specific open positions. So let's say, for example, that I'm interested in seeing some very specific keywords within those open position announcements. There's also the Don't Contain option, which means that I want to get notifications for all open positions except the ones that contain these keywords here, or even the Contain All option, which means that I want both of these keywords to appear within the announcements for me to get notified. There's also the option to use just the headlines of these leads when looking at specific keywords. Now, so far I've now told Vainu that this is the list that I want to use, and these are the things that I'm actually monitoring within those companies. Now, this is still not enough to activate this trigger. As you can see, the activate button here on the top right corner is still gray. I cannot actually click it, and that is because we still have to define these three settings here before I can actually start running the trigger. The first one, add destination, simply means that you'll decide where do you want to get your notifications. The first one is just to get emails, so you would then have your email, or you can define other email addresses here as well. You can change the email subject as well. And the other alternative is having these signals or leads being sent to your CRM, assuming that you have a CRM integration up and running. And here from the export settings button, I could take a closer look at what data points Vainu will actually be sending to your CRM whenever there is a new lead. So I'm going to choose email for this example, click on save. Now the next thing to do is just to decide when exactly do you want to receive these notifications. Maybe you just want to receive them during work days from Monday to Friday, maybe at a specific time. Let's click on save. And finally, you can decide the maximum amount of leads that you will receive on a daily basis. You can even type a larger amount if you so want. Maybe not that necessary when you are building a rather narrow trigger that doesn't create that many leads per day, but if you have a huge list and you are, for example, tracking all of the events, then it might make sense to just type a maximum amount so that you don't get a huge amount of leads each day. Now, once all of these settings have been defined, now you can see that the activate button has turned black, which means that by clicking there, I can now activate my test trigger, which means it's now up and running, and I would start receiving new emails whenever there are new leads. And I can even see a list here of some previous leads that have been received that match these criteria. So I could see, for example, that had I already set up this trigger, let's say a couple of weeks ago, these are some of the examples of different leads that I would have received to my email. Finally, you can, of course, at any point stop using the trigger, stop receiving notifications by clicking on pause, which now means that I won't be receiving those notifications. And again, by clicking on activate, you can then reactivate those triggers, so even the paused ones aren't deleted automatically, they stay here within the paused category. You'll actually have to click on these three buttons here and choose delete if you actually want to entirely delete a trigger. Notice as well that you can duplicate a trigger, so if you have set up rather intricate settings, perhaps a lot of keywords, you can then easily duplicate that trigger and make the necessary adjustments. You don't have to type in all of the keywords again. So that's how to use triggers. Hopefully that helps you start building your own triggers and start testing out the feature by yourself.